Good morning. Happy Easter. And this year we get the sun. Yay. I am Joel Miller. I'm so pleased to welcome you to the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship on this beautiful Easter morning. I've been thinking, I always think a lot about Easter when it comes up for us Unitarian Universalists because it's a more complex holiday for us. We come from so many different backgrounds and have so many different beliefs. You know, if it had been 100 years ago and I were a Universalist, I would say, well, you know, Jesus died, but that was to remind us that we all get to go to heaven. He felt that was so important to let us know that. Or the Unitarian theology, which was this teacher, this rabbi, this Jewish rabbi had such an important message for us that he would preach it rather than be silenced by the Roman Empire. Now, I grew up Unitarian Universalist at a time a little later than that, and we didn't actually talk a lot about Bible and things like that. I mostly learned from the playground about Christian theology, and always seemed a little bit, I wasn't too sure what to do with that. You have to love God or you'll go to hell and burn forever. Just never made sense to me. But then there was one Easter, I think I was probably 8, and we had gotten our first pet, a beautiful calico cat, and she was a calico, and we were trying to figure out what to name her, and my dad said, how about Callie for calico? And we were like, oh, we loved it, Callie the calico. And it was about, well, I think it was about a week before Easter, and we noticed, wait a minute, Callie, it looks like Callie's going to have babies. Oh, my goodness. We were very excited about that. But then Callie disappeared. 2 days, 3 days went by. We looked everywhere. We looked all over the neighborhood. We put flyers up and handed on telephone poles and handed them out to our neighbors. Nobody had seen Callie. We were really, really upset. We thought something terrible had happened to her. Easter morning came, and there were chocolate bunnies, and there were eggs, and some of you might remember I told a story about looking for eggs. I remember one year I hid eggs from my own kids and then hid one too well, and we found it eventually because we could smell it. Somehow it just didn't feel like a very exciting morning. Even the chocolate just wasn't really bringing our spirits up because we were thinking about Callie. And then all of a sudden, as we're sitting there with our Easter baskets, we saw Callie, who walked right through the middle of us, looked at us and went, wow. And we were like, Callie. And then she ran down to the basement. Well, it turns out she had drug a towel and made herself a little nest behind the furnace where no one would think to look for her and proceeded to have kittens. I sat with Callie that Easter morning because she wouldn't let me go. She would let anybody else go. My mom with a little protest, but she really wanted me to just stay there with her. And so I learned something about Easter and birth one Easter morning, how happy I was to have my kitty back and safe, and how happy I was for her and the beautiful kittens she had, and eventually who found great homes with friends. And that gave me an understanding of what some of my neighbors and friends were celebrating on an Easter morning, and I was glad to understand that. I'm so glad to welcome you here this morning. We have all kinds of things that go on in the life of the congregation. There are announcements in your orders of service about some of the things that are coming up. There's some announcements, actually, that Kathy Cacavelli has at this time.
I'm just going to highlight a couple of the announcements that are in your order of service. I am the Sunday Associate this morning, and I too want to welcome you here to this welcoming and inclusive community where people, no matter where you are on your spiritual journey and no matter what your age, you are indeed welcome here. So, exciting. Today, following the service, there will be an Easter egg hunt on the front oval. All ages are welcome. On Saturday, April 6th at 11 a.m., there will be a memorial service for longtime member Toby Tyler. And then join us next Sunday, April 7th, following the service for the kickoff of the annual budget drive. There will be a light lunch and some treasure hunt activities. And now I welcome Nan Perigo to come up and give us an update on the search committee.
Hi, everybody. You haven't seen us in a while, have you? Well, I have some good news. I'm the co-chair, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the co-chair of the Ministerial Search Committee, and we've been searching for our new minister. And we've been very quiet because the last couple of months we've been doing interviews and background checks and all kinds of stuff to find a new minister. Well, you guys remember this chart? All of the things that we found out from you that you wanted to see in our new minister? We found her. She checks off all the boxes and then some. I can't tell you who she is just yet because she's telling her congregation today. But next week, we'll be able to tell you who she is, a little bit about her background, and I'll tell you, folks, you are going to love her. All right? So thank you for your patience with our search, and keep in touch. We're working out details about candidating week, which is going to be the last week of April, April 21st through the 28th. And at that point, she'll meet with our board, our staff, some of our committees, get some social time with members and friends. And if you have a group that you think particularly needs to speak with her, please contact us. You can, any of us that have the MSC Ask Me, or you can msc@muff.org to let us know. And we'll try to fit you into her schedule. So stay tuned. We'll tell you more about her and her visit soon. Thank you.
And now, as I light the chalice, I invite you to share in this morning's affirmation. Love is the spirit of this fellowship. Service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
everyone. Again, my name's Nick. I'm the Director of Religious Education. I see a lot of new faces, and I'm excited to see you all. Is my mic not on? Let me try it again. Oh, that's just because I'm loud, as all my Sunday school teachers have ever told me. Well, okay. Which one is it? Switch on top. Oh, my goodness. There we go. And I'm the guy that gets to do IT stuff during the week. Welcome again. Welcome to everyone who is here. I'm excited to see a lot of new faces. We do have, for some of our littlest guys, first of all, I want to welcome you all in here and the sound. We think it's really important that children are here with us the entire service together as a community. And I love how full this room is. In fact, if you guys could scooch up a little bit, who have some chairs in between you all, because I keep seeing people come in looking for seats. So if there's some seating, there is some spots for you. So we welcome children in the service here with all of their noises and all their stuff. There are activity bags in the back. We also welcome our older folks who have some hard times hearing with all of those noises. And so for those of you who can control yourselves, my children, let's try to keep it down so they can pay attention, right? If you don't want to pay attention, that's fine. But there's activities and stuff. Now, if that's too much and you need to make a little extra room, you and your parent can go into the library, and the service is streamed into there. So you can go in there and watch it with your parent in there. There are some comfy chairs and some activities for kids in there. If you're a parent and you just need a break from these kids for a second, you've been up since 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock? What time did you guys wake up this morning? You came in my room at 6, yes. And you need a break and want to worship by yourself, the nursery is open today, and that is upstairs. And after the time for all ages, come find me and I'll show you where it is. It's kind of up in the corner there. So we have some nurse workers up there for anyone 5 and under can go up in there. If you're older than 5, I think you can hang out in here, but you can go in the library as well. Now, all of that being said, can I ask those kids to be wiggly and come wiggle up here? Come on up. We're going to talk about symbols. So anyone who's young or young at heart or is able to sit on the floor, come on up. Yeah, got it. Hang on. Yes, after. We can talk about it. Excellent. Thank you, June. Excellent. Wonderful. Okay. So, who knows what a symbol is? Do you know what a symbol is? No? What's a symbol?
It's like kind of like a picture that depicts like a group of people. For example, like the symbol for the you use is like the chalice.
Yeah. So a symbol, he was saying, is a picture that depicts something, right? Right? Kind of like emojis, but they're a little more official than that. And for you use, our symbol is, does anyone know what it is? The chalice, right? Okay, so that's good. So if we see a chalice out in the world with some circles around it, usually that means it's Unitarian Universalist. We all have different versions of the chalice because we are Unitarian Universalists. We can't do anything the same. We have to do our own unique spin, but we still have the symbol there. Now, today, what day is it? What holiday is it today? Easter, right? And what is the symbol of Easter? There's a couple symbols of Easter, but what do you think is one of the symbols of Easter? Jesus, okay, maybe, but I'm talking about pictures. What is the picture you see when you think of Easter? Eggs and rabbits, yep. Chocolate eggs, all right, so bunnies and eggs are part of it, right? If you go to a Christian church, you might see a cross or an empty tomb because that's part of the story. Yeah? Carrots because of bunnies, yeah, absolutely. All these things, pictures, all right. So today, we are looking for one particular symbol, and that is an egg. I'm going to use this one for right now. Or this one right here. Now, why do you think symbols or eggs are a symbol of Easter? Rebirth, yeah. They don't come from the Christian story of Easter because there was no eggs. I mean, there were eggs in Jesus' time, but not in the story. There certainly weren't bunnies hanging out by the tomb. Why do we have eggs and bunnies as our symbol at Easter? Charlotte's right, that's rebirth. It comes from our pagan roots, right? We as Unitarian Universalists have a lot of different religions that we pull inspiration from, and eggs and bunnies come from our Northern European pagan roots, from what is the goddess's name? Sorry, where's my pagans at? Istra, yeah, right? That's where Easter comes from. Duh, having a blank here. Right? And that was one of their symbols, and it was for rebirth and in spring and newness. Now, I'm going to conduct an experiment. I need a volunteer that is not one of my children. All right, come on up here, Paisley. Paisley, stand up here. Paisley, you're not allergic to eggs, right? Are you allergic to eggs? No, where's Mom? I want a thumbs up. We're good on that? Okay, good. All right, stand up over here. Face everyone. Now, I have an egg here. It's an egg that I pulled out when I was making breakfast this morning. Okay, shh. Then you be quiet. Ruin the surprise. So, I'm going to actually crack this egg. How many people have seen this trend on TikTok? How many adults are on TikTok that you're not supposed to be? Like myself, right? We're all too old for that, right? And there's this trend of parents cracking eggs on their kids' foreheads. I don't really understand it. But I'm going to do it. I can crack an egg on your head? What would happen if I crack this egg on her head? It's going to get stuck? It's not hard-boiled. Pulled it out of the fridge this morning. It did do something to it. She might have to go to the hairdresser. It's going to get all gooey and stuff. Phyllis, you're okay. Huh? All right? So we expect that inside this egg, what's inside this egg? Yolk, right? And that yolk will fall, and that's what we expect because yolks are delicious sometimes, but in other ways, they can turn into little baby chicks that can become chickens, and then they grow chicks. And we expect that inside an egg is a yolk. You ready for this? You ready? Can we get a countdown? 3, 2, 1. Oh no! It's too hard. Did that hurt? I'm sorry. Oh no. Let me try the other one. I might do my own child just so I can hurt them, and that's not a big deal. All right, ready? Let me try to do it. Oh. Uh-oh. What did you do? There's no egg or yolk in there. Now, who wanted to see Paisley get yolk on her head? Yeah, her brother definitely did, right? Oh, there we go. We got some comedians out here too. So listen, we opened an egg and there was nothing in it, and that was kind of a bummer, right? Now I'll tell you the secret here. And Charlotte, what was I doing this morning?
Blowing it out.
I was blowing the yolk and egg out. There's little holes in the bottom there, right? We made it work because we trust that eggs will have yolk in them, and that eggs symbolize rebirth. We know that it will happen, and sometimes this is why we celebrate Easter now. That's why the pagans did then, after the spring equinox, because newness is coming, and it may feel like Nick is going to blow the yolks out of an egg, and it's not going to be there. It may feel like in winter that it'll never be summer again. And I have felt this last couple of weeks, right? You got a little tease of some warmness, and then it's cold again, but it's nice out today. One of the things that we remind ourselves in these traditions and these rituals is that newness and excitement. You can sit down, or you can stay standing, whatever you want to do. I'm done cracking eggs on your head there. That newness and excitement comes always. There is a cycle of things, right? And so when things seem boring or lame, right? The service is so long. Joel is still talking. Eventually it'll be over, right? And if you pay attention in those moments, it'll be exciting. Joel will have interesting things to say, right? The announcements are really important, because what was one announcement that we heard this morning? What's happening afterwards? Egg hunt. We got egg hunt. Some are full of candy for those who are interested. We have ones that are allergy sensitive, so they have little toys and treats in them instead of candy. So we're being conscious of that. But newness comes, and that's what we're celebrating today. Excitement and rebirth and newness, even when it feels like it's never going to show up. Does that make sense to everyall? Yeah. All right, cool. Let's all hang out with our parents, or if you want to go to those places, you can do that too. Talk to your parents. Huh? You come outside with me. So there we go. All right. All right.
You can either choose to sit or stand. I know it's a double header, and they are and they're more contemplative, so it works. We sit or stand in the middle of it, whatever you like.
will sing. I 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 will sing.
So in the Christian story that found in the New Testament, in the Bible, it said that there was a stone, big heavy stone in front of the tomb where Jesus was put after he was executed by Rome. And that image, that symbol, remember we talked about a symbol a little earlier. The symbol, the stone, especially in a moment like this, as we're about to share in milestones, passages, and gratitudes. Sometimes it can feel like there's a stone that's closed off our hearts from others, maybe even from our own selves. And one of the things that I know that this congregation holds dear is the power of friends and community to help roll those stones open, so that our hearts need not stay entombed, but can live again. We can find joy again. And that is this spiritual practice that we mark at this time. Beth Hayward shares a passage. She writes, "Please keep Chris Jimney in your thoughts and your UU prayers. Her father died on Friday night. He was on hospice in Maryland." Doris Van Natta was a member here in this congregation in the 60s and 70s. Some of you might remember her and her children. Doris died earlier this month, and as is the tradition here in the fellowship, we light a candle for those who have been a part of the life of this congregation at one point, in memory of those who've been part of us in community. And we remember also the larger world around us, all those who struggle and suffer, people in Ukraine and Russia, people in Gaza and Israel. We wish for them peace. We wish for them healing. Please join me now in a moment of meditation or prayer or contemplation, as is right for you. Spirit of life, you seek to unite us all. You challenge us to live beyond division and exclusion. If we look close enough, we see you bringing us together in the eyes of a child, children who see nothing like race or creed when eyes look back in love. We all begin life with the eyes of a child, and we all have known moments of estrangement and sorrow. But before we put on the armor of class or education or belief or certainty, before we close our hearts off with great stones, let us pause and remember the love of a child for life. And remind us then to hold in our hearts, or perhaps even hand to hand, all who struggle today, who mourn beloved family, who have the name of someone they love in mind and heart. We pause now in silent affirmation of this faith we share, that our love can overcome our worst fears, even our destructive desires, because we will leave our children a world where peace and thoughtful words have more power than any bullets. These people, beloved, near and far, may we be a light to them and they to us. And by all these lights, let us be blessed. Amen. So be it. Blessed be. Do you know the story behind this song, Michael?
I know it a lot better now because Reverend Charlie said it last week.
Did he really? Oh,
He
that's great.
explained it, yeah.
Some of you know that story.
Yeah, and when he was going through the songs to tell what he wanted to choose for that day, I saw that, and I had planned the Spirit of Life anthem for today as our theme, and it's going to be the choral anthem. And I said, but it's okay, you can leave it. It'll sort of work as a Holy Week theme, and as you'll see in a little bit, when I'm going to read the notes about it, many UU congregations sing Spirit of Life every week, apparently. I know it's the iconic UU hymn, and it was a perfect setup for today's song, to learn about its very moving inspiration by Carolyn McDade. We did it last week, and we're doing it again today, and then you'll hear the choir sing a great arrangement of it. Get your tissues ready. But and she only wrote the one verse, which is that we have in our hymnal, and it's written here. But there's also a 3-verse version, and last week we did the 1 verse, but today we'll do all 3 verses. This one I know you all know, so I won't play the whole way through. And you're more than welcome to stand or sit wherever you feel in the Spirit best.
Spirit
share a brief reading by the Reverend Sarah Stewart. We don't live into our redemption very much or get to win the fight over death. Jesus' resurrection is a symbol and a promise that we are redeemed and that death's dominion is not the final word. On Easter, the deep magic breaks through. We proclaim and sing that love's redeeming work is done, and then get back to that very work.
The offering today is splits 50-50 with Save the Children, which works in the hardest to reach places where it's hardest to be a child. You can donate. The number there is on the screen if you'd like to text it. You can put it in the baskets that are about to go around, or you can give online, muuf.org/give.
Well, this is sort of the official choral anthem of Spirit of Life. I've been looking for the right day to program it for almost a year now, and it worked beautifully today. And we're going to have Kathy on flute. It was commissioned by members of the Unitarian Church of St. Paul, Minnesota, Unity Unitarian Church, and dedicated to Ruth Palmer, their music director, for 20 years upon her retirement. The notes say, no other hymn is as well known or highly regarded in the Unitarian Universalist movement than Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade. Many congregations sing it every Sunday, and sermons are written about it, and people sing it at life events. In just 6 lines of poetry, Spirit of Life deals with nearly all the key concepts cherished by this faith.
I remember doing the Time for All Ages years ago, Nick, when my kids would come up. My daughter would claim her dad, and I was in a more traditional UU congregation. I wore this big robe and a stole every Sunday, big Gothic cathedral building. And she would sit on my lap. My dad, I could sit on his lap. And then afterward, my kids would, if they had to stay and listen to the sermon, they would go, "Oh, Dad, the sermon, blah, blah, blah." So I try to be mindful about time. You know, when I was studying theology 35 years ago as a theological student, I was very curious about Jesus. I really didn't know much about Jesus. I'd grown up in a very science and human-oriented, nature-oriented congregation. We didn't talk a lot about Jesus. Most of what I knew about Jesus, I either saw from TV preachers who were busy healing people at the same time I suspected they were taking some money out of their purses or something, or I was on the playground and kids were saying, "Is Jesus your Lord and Savior?" And I would go, "No." And they would go, "You'll go to hell if he isn't. God is love." I was always very confused by that. Sometimes, I went to public school, so I didn't meet many Catholic kids. When I did, it was usually at the park. When the playground, we would go and play on a Saturday or on a long summer day. Most of the Catholic kids in Ohio, where I grew up, would go to Catholic schools. So when I would meet a Catholic kid at the playground, they would say, "What church do you go to?" And I learned after a while that meant, "What Catholic church do you go to?" And when they heard I didn't go to a Catholic church, then they were worried I didn't go to church and I was going to go to hell because I wasn't Catholic. And the nice thing about growing up UU was that I didn't worry much about heaven or hell. I was dealing with enough hell on earth, and that seemed to be enough. And then there were those sweet Universalist Christians who were part of my mostly atheist congregation, and they believed in a God so loving. They told me, "There's no hell. God is so loving and so good. Everyone goes to heaven when they die." Now, later in theological school, I understood that it wasn't quite that simple. Universalists had a fierce argument. Does everybody go straight to heaven when they die, or do some really bad people go and burn a little bit and then they get to go to heaven? I was very surprised when I got to theological school because hell, as it turns out, is not even a word Jesus would ever have heard of. The word hell, H-E-L-L, is actually the name of the Viking goddess of the underworld and the afterlife, a goddess who was half beautiful, half rotten corpse. Well, I found that out, and I got much more interested. I met some of those wonderful people in theological school of all kinds of faiths. And I got very curious about all kinds of religions. And at one point, I looked up Easter because I realized how important it was, even to Unitarian Universalists who follow a Christian spiritual path. I wanted to understand this most important Christian holiday. And I looked it up in the theological library of the school where I was, in the big Encyclopedia of Christianity. Now, some of you who are younger may not have ever actually seen an encyclopedia. It's about 30 books. It's more books on a shelf than I can stretch my arms. There's about 30 of these books. I pulled out the book with the letter E articles on it, Easter. I opened it up. There were 4 words, a total of 4 words for the article on Easter. Easter, see Resurrection Sunday. That was it. I thought, wow, okay, better look that up. And that article, Resurrection Sunday, said nothing about the word Easter at all. Didn't actually even mention that Jesus was Jewish, which I found really disturbing. And it talked a lot about hell without mentioning that hell is actually a Viking goddess of the afterlife. I didn't open the encyclopedia up again. I didn't find it helpful. In most of the world, this holiday, this holy day for Christians is not even called Easter. It's called Passover, because the last days of Jesus' life occurred during the Jewish Passover. The Last Supper was most likely a Passover Seder. The word Passover gets translated differently in many languages. So In Greek, it might be called Pascha. In Italian, Pasqua. In Danish, it is Paske. And in French, it is Pâques. In English, Dutch, and German, there's a different name, Easter, or in German, Ostern. An ancient writer noted that these words, Easter and Ostern, came from the names of the pagan goddess Estre, as Nick mentioned, goddess of birth and the rising sun. The holiday for her was celebrated around the March equinox, usually the first full moon after the vernal equinox, to be technical. And actually to this day, because in the Christian tradition they wanted Easter to match up with Passover, which it usually does, though not this year, Easter is the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. It's rather pagan. There's no historical evidence, but this name Estre has very similar sounding goddesses, Astarte in the Mideast, Ishtar in the ancient Mideast, Ostara. There's no evidence, but I think maybe many of our ancient ancestors, especially in Europe and the Mideast, might have been worshiping this same goddess of birth and sunrise. One journalist noted a few years ago, and I immediately agreed, the funnest things about Easter are pagan. Bunnies, chocolate bunnies. The bunny is a part of as a Northern European goddess, rabbits were a symbol of the goddess Estre because she was a symbol of birth and rebirth. And it fits very well. I actually saw a rabbit in front of my apartment this morning, having just read about bunnies. One rabbit can give birth 4 times of litters up to 12 little bunnies. That's 48 bunnies a year from one bunny. That's a pretty good symbol of the goddess of fertility. And as Nick mentioned, the exchange of decorated eggs is such an ancient custom. It goes back before known history, the written history that we have. And it was brought to America by immigrants from Eastern Europe. In fact, I was talking with Paul just the other day. He was trying to get some hot cross buns and couldn't get them because you're not allowed to get them before Good Friday, I guess. Or maybe just because you're a Unitarian Universalist, I'm not sure. But in the Old Testament, Israelites were baking sweet buns for the Queen of Heaven. And the patriarchal religious leaders were trying to make them stop and not having any success. Early Christian priests first tried to stop them also, but didn't work. And so they came up with a good compromise. They put little crosses on the top of these traditional buns cooked for the Queen of Heaven, Estre. You have hot cross buns. They go way back, though. Interestingly enough, there's 2 new women's groups in the congregation, and one of the oldest curriculums we still use as Unitarian Universalist is called, fittingly, Cakes for the Queen of Heaven. I confess that there was a time in my life when I really liked to talk about this name of Easter as really the name of the Teutonic goddess of the sunrise, and it would irk my neighbors a little bit. My clergy neighbors were like, do you have to bring that up? But I learned something over the years, and as I thought back about my cat and how joyful I was to see her, as I thought back about those lovely Universalists who I grew up with in a mostly atheist congregation, and as I've seen the joy of many Christians they feel on Easter, the kind of joy that when we share it with others can unite us, I've come to realize how important it is to approach life and my neighbors with a sense of that Easter spirit. There was a point in my first years as a student minister, and I met feminist Catholic women who were studying theology. Now, at that time in my life, I was like, wait a minute, feminist and Catholic, how does that even go together? And getting to know them, I learned how much they loved their church, they loved their faith, and how hard they were willing to fight for their tradition. And that turned my world a little bit upside down. And I realized something about myself, that I was a little snarkier than I really wanted to be. I was pretty mad about it, actually. I thought, maybe I don't belong in Unitarian Universalism. And so I took classes from Buddhists. I took classes from Jewish leaders. I took classes from United Church of Christ leaders. People of many different faiths, because that's what I'd learned to do growing up, Unitarian Universalist. Find out as much as I can. And one uniform thing that I experienced among all of those lovely, generous, spiritual people was kindness and a hope for me to find where I could settle in my spiritual home. And I came to understand through them that you are my people, that I am a Unitarian Universalist. It was the only place I could be. But I also brought with me a sense of how important it is to understand that when the kids on the playground were witnessing to me, they did so because they cared about me. That when people feel deeply about their faiths, those faiths serve them in deep and powerful ways. And ultimately came to understand something about that Jewish rabbi, this person named Jesus, willing to die for the words he preached. The light of his words returns again and again to me, sometimes perhaps through a bunny that I see on my lawn in the morning, or the smile of a child during an Easter egg hunt. The light returns again and again. I see it in the pictures of that historic march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in 1965, when the minister of this very congregation joined the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King in the march from Selma to Montgomery. The pictures of those events show on one side the marchers unarmed and singing, and on the other side the armor-clad power of the state and local police holding clubs, spraying tear gas. Dr. King understood the Easter spirit. The week before Easter is filled with danger and sacrifice. But in the end, only truth and the love we share with others can sustain any real power. I don't know much about safety or certainty in this life, but I do know that guns won't keep me safe, and empires won't keep anyone safe. It will be the music of our souls, inviting one another into the spirit of life and the light of love that will carry us through joys and sorrows, through difficult winters and joyful rebirth. The spirit of Easter is an ancient truth. Life will be renewed. The world will be reborn, and we have every right to expect to feel hope and joy again, even after the hardest long nights. This is the promise of the universe we live in, and the love we have to share. Love will overcome everything in the end. loss and pain. Let none of it divide us. In the rising sun today, let us do together what we cannot do alone. Roll away the stones that close off our hearts. Go in peace, be in peace. Happy Easter.